Very quick call from Eric.
Well, there's the reason why he's raised it up. Ace-king, big slick, offsuit there. And Lindgren's going to call here with a very dominated hand.
8, 10.
Wow, what a flop for Eric.
Well, now this might get Ivy in trouble. This has got the makings of a big hand here. Ivy with top pair, top kicker. Eric Lindland with 2 pair, top 2.
Well, it's a bet and a call. He's going to slow play the ace-10. Here comes the turn.
Jack.
Turns the jack at diamonds there. That gives Ivy a couple more outs here. He can catch a queen now.
As well as a king and a jack.
12.
His percentages have gone up from 15% on the flop to 23 on the turn.
Cool.
We have a bet and a call.
Pot is 30,000 now, 40,000. And look at that, the river is a queen of clubs. Oh, you've got to be sick if you're Lindgren. You can really beat nothing with 2 pair there now. And Ivy has made the straight. He's got the nuts here.
He has the nuts. He's probably hoping that Derek's got a 9 in his hand. Still trying to decide how much to bet.
Might you overbet this? Make it look like a steal.
Well, you want to try and be consistent. If in this spot you'd be trying to bet 30,000 with a bluff, you probably want to bet 30,000. If you're going to bet 20,000 with a bluff, you want to bet 20,000. Occasionally you can mix it up and try and play with your opponent's head, but for the most part you want to be consistent.
Well, he makes a pot-sized bet here. He bets 40,000 into a $42,000 pot. And Lindgren's got to be sick to his stomach. Nothing he can beat here.
He's basically only calling to beat a bluff in this spot.
Pass.
Well, he makes a good laydown. Aces and 10s, perfect flop for him. He kept it slow. And Phil Ivey, who got off to a terrible start, picks up a very nice pot there.
And Eric Lindgren's going to play there. He's got king-queen offsuit. And Tony G definitely going to play the ladies there.
Raising it up to what looks like 2,100.
Now Lindgren had limped in with king-queen offsuit in kind of middle-ish position.
Well, it's definite call here from Eric,
Cool.
knowing his game.
Not a spot I like to call with there. Out of position with king-queen, a hand that's easily dominated.
Well, he's played it in such a way that he's going to... Wow, what a flop for the king-queen. And the queens are probably going to like it too.
Well, you look at this. Tony G's got the overpair. He's open-ended straight draw here. And Lindgren's got the absolute nuts. Oh, this is a money flop.
Cool.
Well, we've already seen that Tony G has been able to lose the minimum in a lot of the pots that he's played. Wow, 3 hearts out there as well.
That might slow the action down a little bit. But Tony G still has the queen of hearts. Lindgren with the king of hearts. Lindgren can only chop this pot.
Cool.
He cannot lose this pot at all.
Wow, this really is unlucky for Tony G.
The river, the 5 of spades changes nothing here. The pot is $34,500. And Lindgren has bet it the entire way. Never looked for a check raise.
Yeah, he's played this hand beautifully.
And it looks like he's betting 16,000. And
Cool.
Tony G is going to call this, and he is going to lose a $66,000 pot. Wow. Small blind, Tony G. Action on Alan Cunningham. He's going to throw it away. Over to Andy Block.
600 to play. 600.
600?
Made it 18. 18.
And Ivy's going to raise it up. He makes it 1,800. He's got a couple of tens there.
Well, it's a position he's been raising an awful lot in, the cut-off.
It's called the 18.
So he's not likely to get too much
Called
respect.
the 18.
Both the blinds have called him, and for once he's actually got a genuine hand. Only one overcard between the two blinds, the jack.
7-5-3, and look at this. We've got an action flop here. Phil Ivy's got the overpair. Tony G is flop top 2 pair.
Well, he hasn't been too lucky so far today.
5,000. 5's called. And card.
And you get a bet from Phil Ivy, $5,000, and a quick call from Tony G. Surprised they didn't put a raise in there right away.
Jack.
The turn is the jack, and now that's one more card that he cannot beat.
Check.
Is a jack.
You want to get rid of this one? I don't need it anymore.
Phil's reaching to fire again.
No, I'm done. Okay. Just want to take it off?
It hasn't been Tony G's day. You wonder if he's a little gun shy here.
14,000.
And Phil Ivy's going to make it $14,000.
I'm all in.
And look at this. Tony G check raises all in.
That's a big, big raise with the 7-5. He knows he's only going to get his money in now in a bad spot. That's a massive raise, about $90,000 more. I can't imagine Phil calling this.
50.
The interesting thing is you wonder if he would have gotten more action on the flop. But now the jack comes out. Does that scare Phil Ivy? Pot is $138,000.
Yes.
Yep.
50, 70, 80, 92, 93, 94, 4.
94 for you. 94 for.
How much?
94,400.
How much?
94,400.
It's almost as if Tony G is trying to buy the pot.
There are plenty of kind of draws that Phil can be in good shape in here. He might think that Tony G's got 7-6 of clubs, that kind of a hand.
Tony G has really played this hand a little unorthodoxly. And you can see the wheels turning. All the players very interested. This is a big pot, $140,000 pot.
I can tell you one thing's for certain. Phil Ivy wishes he hadn't bet that 14,000 now.
Trying to replay the hand in his head. What is Tony G trying to represent here? Such a strange bet on the turn. You can see maybe it's confused Phil Ivy a little bit.
As you can see from the percentages, it wouldn't be the end of the world for Phil if he does make the call. He's still got a few cards he can catch. The 3, the jack, or the 10.
Right.
He's counting. He was stuck about 80,000 earlier on in this tournament, early on in this cash game. He'd managed to grind himself back to only about 25,000 behind. If he makes this call, he's in an even worse state.
Interestingly enough, if Tony G had not rebought, you wonder how quickly Phil Ivy would have called.
Yeah, you're right. If this is 50,000 less, I'm pretty sure Ivy would have called by now. Could be thinking jack flush draw. Could have had two big hearts. He's caught the jack, and that's going to cripple Phil's hand. I think he's going to muck.
Well, that's the interesting thing. If Tony G had something like Queen Jack of Clubs, Queen Jack of Hearts. Your 10s are no good there. You can really only beat something like 7, 6 of clubs.
Of course, the big difference between this and tournament play is if he gets this wrong, he's not out of the tournament. He can just pull up some more money. He sat down with $200,000, a drop in the ocean to a man who's won over 8 million in tournaments, not counting what he's won in side games.
Tony G obviously winning. Rebought for another $50,000 here, making this call even harder for Phil Ivey. Phil Ivey, one of the greatest players in the game today. The wheels are turning there. Obviously, all the players.
Well, he's decided to call. He's in bad shape, but he has got a few cards to catch.
He needs a 3, a jack, or a 10. Or this $233,000 pot is going to go to Tony G.
Last card.
And
It's
the
a
river is
king.
the king of clubs, and Tony G is going to win this pot.
Yeah.
And a big smile for Tony G there as he takes out a $233,000 pot. And Phil Ivey not happy at all. Obviously the big overbet check raise there on the turn confused Phil Ivey.
He had a 10.
Action on him right now. And in first position, King 6 suited. Probably not a hand you play very often, but Patrick likes it.
Well, here's another hand I probably don't play quite the same way.
2,800.
Brian Townsend getting his feet wet straight away, racing it up with 7-4 of diamonds. That's certainly a statement of intent to the commentators, at least, who can see his hand that he came to play.
2,800 is called.
2 4s for Alan Cunningham.
Pass.
You see Chris Ferguson laying down there. Actually a perfect game for Chris Ferguson. He can kind of lay low and wait for the big hands.
Yeah, that seems to be the best game plan right now. There's so many, well, if you'll pardon my French, lunatics out there throwing their chips in the middle. Playing tight may well be the best strategy for this game at the moment.
And Patrick Antonius is going to call this out of position. King 6 suited.
Well, both his cards are live, and if he catches his king, he'll be quite far in front, barring the case 4.
Ace.
Wow.
10, 4.
Now this is a huge flop here. You've got Cunningham with a set of 4s. You have Patrick Antonius with a flush draw. And of course Townsend with nothing. That is the case 4.
Yep, the very last 4 has come out. And it's not stopping Brian Townsend firing a... Oh, he almost changed his mind. He's reaching for more. He'd like to lose more in this pot.
8,600.
You can see Brian Townsend there, a.k.a. SB Rugby. He has a 1% chance of winning this hand.
7-7 is probably the only way he can win this pot.
Exactly.
He's got a couple of chops though. 10-10, ace-ace.
And Cunningham has been waiting for this big hand all day long, very patiently, disciplined. And he's got a monster. Let's see how he plays it.
Is called.
He's just flat called. Oof, that could open it up for Patrick Antonius, possibly putting some pressure on with a re-raise here. If he does, he's definitely going to get himself a caller.
Well, Antonius is definitely going to at least call this. You wonder if he's going to raise, though. Try to take it down without seeing a turn card. And it looks like reaching. He's reaching for more chips here. Alan Cunningham trying to stay cool.
Makes me wonder whether Alan had even thought about the fact that Patrick's still in this pot. He's now giving a cheap card for a flush. He calls.
He just calls there. Brian Townsend obviously very relaxed because he knows he's got nothing.
7 might be interesting though. Especially the 7 of hearts. Well, it's a heart. It's a great card for Patrick Antonius.
Pot is nearly $36,000. Let's see what Antonius does here. Cunningham knows that somebody might have had a flush here.
He's looking down at his chips. That usually means you want to bet.
22,000.
22,000, I believe, was the bet.
$22,000 bet.
Pass.
An easy pass for Brian Townsend, who's been running without the ball in this pot.
And Cunningham here has normally 10 outs to win the pot. Any 4, any ace, any 10, or any queen. But we saw there's no 4s left, so he's got 9 outs. Pot is $57,000, 22 to call.
He's making the call.
And the pot is $80,000 to the river. Alan Cunningham needs the board to pair. Well, Patrick Antonius is going to win this pot.
Last card between two of you.
And the river's a deuce of clubs.
The quintessential blank, the deuce of clubs.
Oh, and Patrick Antonius has got to love that black deuce coming on the river. And how much do you bet for value here?
Well, he's already asked Alan how many chips he's got left. Is he just going to try and move all in? Or is he going to try and milk Alan for all it's worth?
$75,000.
He bet $75,000. Pretty much pot size bet.
Well,
wow, the pot is over $150,000. 75 to call for Alan Cunningham. Clearly, Antonius is trying to represent hearts here, and that's what he's got.
Kind of pretend like there's a nut flush or something.
Barry Mundy overseeing the action here. This is a very big pot, over 150,000. Last year, we saw Alan Cunningham lay down aces. And this year, we're going to see Alan Cunningham lay down a set. Fantastic laydown by Alan. And that pot goes to Patrick Antonius. $150,000 in the middle. And Alan Cunningham making an excellent laydown once again. And that's why he has won over almost $9 million in tournament prize money.
But Patrick Antonius is, and that's the reason why. He's got a couple of 10s.
Cool.
Tony G is going to play it. King, Queen offsuit.
He's done quite a lot of calling, actually, Tony G. Constantly trying to take on the razors. This time he's up against a genuine hand. And Chris Ferguson mixing it up with the suited connect. It's not something you see too often from him.
He's getting crazy. Somebody's got to stop him.
Well, it's a good flop for the pocket tens. No overcards.
Check.
And he's going to check it. And look at this. Tony G's going to take a shot at it.
Always nice to mix up your game every now and then.
It's an interesting play by Patrick Antonius. By checking it, he gets the bet from Tony G, and he gets to see what Chris Ferguson does behind him.
Yeah, free information and quite possibly free money.
Cool.
Well, it's a little bit dangerous with the flat call. There's 6 cards that can hurt him, and now he's out of position. He's probably going to have to check the turn as well.
So I was going to ask if he was going to maybe do a stop and go there, where he calls and then maybe leads out on the turn.
Definitely wouldn't be the worst play in the world, and it's what's needed right now.
I really think the reason for the check on the flop was because Chris Ferguson was in the pot. And once Ferguson kind of bows out, I think you can play the hand a little more aggressively.
Finland versus Lithuanian-born Australian Tony G.
9,000.
I don't think Antonius is going to go anywhere here. It's a $9,000 bet into a $15,000 pot. Pot is $24,000. And Antonius has played this hand very passively. Hasn't really gotten much information, but he's way ahead. Tony G with only 6 outs.
Well, he's staying in. That's a call.
And the pot is now $33,000 to the river. And
There's
the
a
river's
king.
a king. Oh, wow. Unreal. And you play the hand passively like that,
Check.
and you get burned on the river.
25,000.
And look at this. It's a value bet by Tony G, and I like it. $25,000 bet from Tony G. Pot is 58,000, and Patrick Antonius calls.
He's going to be sick when he finds out
Yeah,
what
look at
he's
that.
let Tony G hit here.
Oh, and he just shrugs his.
Could have put your hand up to take the pot earlier.
Blinds are 300 and 600. Antes are 100 at the Full Tilt Poker.net $1 million cash game in association with 50 London. Button is in front of Patrick Antonius. And Alan Cunningham, first to act. He's got Ace King off suit.
2,000.
And he's going to make it 2,000 to go.
Andy
Cool.
Block's in the pot with pocket eights.
Pass. Cool.
Now his chip stack is getting to the point where he's almost in, push mode here.
Yeah, he could be doing the equivalent of playing short stack like in a tournament.
Pass.
Ivy's in the pot as well with King 10. Just these three going to see the flop.
Pot is about 7,500.
Wow, that's a great flop for Andy Block. This is what he's been looking for. Top pair for Ivy as well.
So check.
Yeah, nothing there for Cunningham. He shouldn't lose many chips. Got bottom set for Andy Block, and Ivy's got top pair. It's a scary board, though. You wonder how much
5,002.
money Ivy's really going to lose on this hand.
16 total.
All in.
All in. Cool.
It's a raise and a call. It's all in
Okay.
between these two.
Yeah, and he is in really good shape. Andy Block looks like he's probably going to double up here. The pot is
Just
68,000.
calling it.
We don't see a showdown, right?
And Ivy needs some running cards here.
A 7 would have been a chop. The 3's no good. And this one's going to Andy Block. This is what he's been waiting for. 68,000 in the middle.
And sometimes the benefit of being short stacked is you get paid off here.
Yeah, you get some good action, and that's what's happened.
If
Phil
he had
Ivy
some-
just goes from worse to worse.
He has it.
Tony G is going to play,
2,000.
though. He's going to raise it up with a couple of 7s. Makes it 2,000 to go.
And Alan Cunningham
2,000's called.
decides to call with his ace jack of diamonds.
Pass.
He's totally live right now. Phil Ivy's gone. Patrick Antonius with the kind of hand he may well call here. Is he
I think
canning
he's
out a
thinking
raise?
of. I was going to say, I think he's thinking of re-raising this one with Jack 10.
9,600.
And I'm not sure if that's going to get rid of these players.
Don't think he's going to get rid of Tony G. He's feeling a bit confident right now. Might get rid of Alan though.
Well, Alan just doesn't have that many chips in front of him.
7-6 called
He's almost in a spot where if I'm going to call this, I might as well just move all in.
and a pass.
And I very much doubt he's going to do that. No, he mugs.
Yeah.
It's just Tony G and Patrick Antonius. And Patrick has taken control of this pot with his re-raise. So if it comes anything even close to a scary board...
7 queen.
Wow, what a flop. Patrick Antonius is going to think that he's got a very live flush draw here. He doesn't realise he's up against 7s full. This could be real fireworks.
Yeah, Patrick Antonius is almost drawing dead here. Tony G has flopped full house here. 7's full of queens.
Checked.
And Patrick has checked it. Now, do you think that maybe he's planning a big check raise?
He could well have been. A bet here from Tony G could have given him a chance to pick up a big pot.
And Tony G checks right behind him, and I think that's a mistake as well. I really believe that Patrick might have been planning a big check raise in the flop there.
16.
Well, it's 16 or 17,000, I think, that Patrick bet there. Tony G's going to call,
Called.
desperately hoping a club comes.
Patrick might have thought that Tony G picked up a heart draw. Here's the river. And it's another 4.
It's just a question of whether Patrick Antonius is going to try and fire again here. Hoping his opponent's got some sort of medium pair.
Normally the 4 on the river would be a scary card. You'd lose to any queen. But the way this hand's been played out, it's hard to put anybody on a queen. Pot is $54,000. Patrick can barely beat the board.
Cool.
50,000 and called.
Cool.
You got it.
And look at that. Patrick Antonius bets $50,000 and an immediate call from Tony G.
Well, we probably would have seen a raise if it hadn't have been a 4 on the river.
On the 4th.
Well, that's all he can do. He can't raise the
I
river.
couldn't raise on. I'm an amateur.
Tony G with Kojak there.
2,000 split.
Racing up to 2,000.
It's almost as if the confidence is just feeding upon itself. With each hand, he gets
2,000
more and more
called.
confidence.
A call from Phil with
Guys.
pocket 9s. And a call from the big blind of Patrick Antonius with the weak ace, ace 4.
Queen 9 ace.
Well,
Oh, wow. What a flop here. We've got a monster. We've got a set of 9s for Phil Ivey. We've got an ace here for Antonius.
5,000.
He's got top pair. Ivy with bottom set. And if you get cute with it, Tony G, he's got a gut shot here. He can catch a 10 to make Broadway.
Phil Ivey leading out with his set. He's not interested in just trying to pick the 5,000-6,000 up there or get a small continuation bet.
Pass.
Tony G
Right.
gets away from his king-jack. And it's just Patrick Antonius and Phil Ivey, the 2 big losers of the game so far today.
Ace.
Oh, wow, and that is such a gin card there. The ace of spades on the turn. Antonius got trip aces, but Ivy's got a full house 9s full of aces. The pot is already nearly $17,000.
It does bring a flush as well, so that may slow Patrick Antonius down. And of course, his kicker isn't that strong either with the 4. But I'll be shocked if he
15,000.
doesn't call this.
Ivy is not out of the woods, though. A queen, an ace, or a 4 would kill Ivy. Pot is $31,700.
Do you think there's actually any way that Patrick Antonius can actually lay this hand down? There's not really a lot he can actually beat here.
Called 15.
Well, he definitely doesn't have a raising hand. He doesn't have much of a kicker. He can't beat an ace, he can't beat spades, and he can't beat a set.
Pass card.
Here's the river.
4.
Wow, what a card!
Oh, and this is just one of those days where if you're Phil Ivey, just stick your head somewhere and go somewhere else. This is terrible. A 4 on the river, and Antonius has made full house. The pot is already $46,000. I don't see how Ivy doesn't lose all his money here. You got to realize if a queen had come out or an ace, you get away from the 9s, but not the 4.
4 is the absolute joker for Patrick Antonius.
Unbelievable.
That's all I can do.
He's played his get out of jail free card. And now it's just a question of how much he can get out of it. That's a $40,000 bet from Phil Ivey.
$40,000 bet. The pot is now $86,000, and the action is on Antonius. And do you just move in here?
I think he does. I think he's just going to move his chips in. He's got the right amount for a standard kind of raise here.
And sure enough, there it is. Patrick Antonius moves all in.
Patrick moves all in.
How much is it? How much is he moving in for?
I think they pretty well had almost exactly the same amount of chips at the start of this hand.
You're right. Patrick Antonius started the hand with $143,000. Phil Ivey with $142,000. And this pot size is $207,000. I want to say about 90 to call.
85.
That's going to make this pot almost $300,000. And I can't see how Phil can get away from this. He's not going to give him ace-queen. He can't really give him ace-9. The only hand he's really losing to here is ace-4.
But would Patrick Antonius make this move with anything else?
King flush. pot's offering him 2 to 1.
Unbelievable.
Call.
Call.
And
He says
Phil Ivey
call.
is called. He is called. This is the biggest pot in the history of televised poker in Europe. It's unbelievable.
$300,000 almost in this pot. And Phil Ivey desperately unlucky on that 4 on the river. And Patrick Antonius wins a monster.
40.
Well, it's on Alan Cunningham. He's under the
2,000.
gun, and he's opening with pocket threes again. We saw him do this earlier on.
Pass.
Couldn't get any action.
Pass.
That's the problem with being Alan Cunningham.
Well, sometimes if you can't get enough action, the best thing to do is start opening up your range of hands. Play a couple more hands here.
Well, Patrick Antonius is on the button with ace-queen. Against most players, he may re-raise this spot. And he's going to do the same to
7.
Alan Cunningham. It's a raise of 5,000.
Pass.
Now, I'm not sure if Alan Cunningham, he started the pot with $57,000. Not sure if he has enough to make this call. Small pocket pairs, you want large implied odds. Not sure if it's quite there.
Cool.
Well, he's decided to call. I think he's in a slightly better spot here than Andy Block was in the implied odds. Not much, though. And that's not really the board you're looking for with a pair of threes.
Yeah, this is the problem with threes. He's still ahead, but he has no idea. And since Antonius has position, he should be able to take the pot away.
Check from Alan.
Check.
And a check from Patrick, which is unusual once you've re-raised.
Check.
That's a really, really surprising check there from Antonius.
Well, it's gone check, check again. Alan might be starting to think his threes are good. Oh, that 9's just totally counterfeited his hand.
Now, what do you do with your Cunningham here?
And check.
Well,
Obviously, it's your best 5 cards, so he's got kings and 9s. With a 7 kicker, he doesn't even play.
he's kind of hoping that Patrick's going to turn over 4s.
And then ace.
Come on, you got the nuts.
You had a small pair?
$1 million cash game.
Black call from Phil. Also a call from Brian Townsend. Howard Lederer on the button.
You can have an option. It's a skill game, so you can use paper.
Cool.
Also call from Alan Cunningham with 8 deuce. I think that's the loosest call we've seen him make all day.
Pool is growing a lot. There's some really crappy stuff, but it's growing a lot.
Check. Check.
4 players to the flop. Ace 9 4.
Where all the top
And
pros
check.
like full tilt these days.
Phil Ivey getting creative with his 7-3 call pre-flop. And Brian Townsend with Queen 10.
It's hard to make it good.
Amazingly enough, this deuce of hearts actually in front.
1,002.
Pool software will be so easy.
Yeah,
but
but
Last thing he wants is a caller right now.
Because all the tables are heads up.
4,000.
That's
total.
even worse.
In terms of tables, and you have
A
to
re-raise with absolutely nothing from Phil Ivey.
I mean, to deal poker, you just got to shuffle it down.
Not what you want to see when you've only got the deuce of hearts in your hand.
Easier than figuring out the physics of a pool table.
Yeah, that's why we work, like, get professors to figure out the physics. Then the lobby updates are so frequent because games are finishing and there's so much capacity. It's really hard to do.
You can see the wheels
Like
turning.
poker style. It's,
And look at this.
multi-table tournament.
Good call from Alan.
Amazing instincts. He calls with the deuce of
I
hearts.
think it would take a lot of processing.
Oh, his hand's just been counterfeited.
All these games.
Yes, the deuce does not play. And these players will chop it up
It's really hard.
if
But we got really
and only if they both call. I imagine somebody's going to bet here.
Ireland.
And look at that.
Very interesting.
4,000.
Wow, incredible play from both of these players.
Oh, this is poker. This is poker at its finest. How can you not enjoy this? Action is on Phil Ivey here. The man who is $270,000 behind. He's going to limp in here. He's got the snowman.
Cool.
Also in is Tony G.
And he's got Queen 10 offsuit.
Cool.
That's going to bring Lederer in.
With a 5-3 of hearts. Bit more creative. Alan's in as well. Pocket fours for Alan.
No ring.
Wow, six-handed. Few flops here that could get some people involved.
6-4 deuce. How about that flop for Howard Lederer? He has flopped the nuts, and we're going to get a monster here. Alan Cunningham has a set of fours. Howard Lederer has flopped the nuts. And let's not forget, Phil Ivey's got the overpair with the eights. Oh, this is going to be a doozy.
Howard trying to work out how to play this hand. Alan sitting there with a set thinking he's in great shape. Howard's going to put in a small raise by the looks of things.
And I like the raise, because you don't want to let a jack or a queen come off and kill your action from Phil Ivey. Obviously, he doesn't know that Alan Cunningham has a set behind him. And you wouldn't normally think somebody would bump it up, raise it up with the nuts.
It's going to be very hard for Alan to give 5-3 in a hand like the hand of Howard Lederer.
Now, this was an unraised pot, so anybody could have anything. You never want to go broke in an unraised pot.
Cool.
And you get a quick call from Alan Cunningham.
Pass.
Andy Block's gone. Let's see how Phil Ivey plays this year. Chris Ferguson, ace-8, offsuit.
No, it's up to you, right?
No, see, I don't think Chris Ferguson knew he had cards. There you go.
He's just scared half the table, thinking he's going to be coming for a big bet.
He's sleeping in hand.
And Phil Ivey lays down his hand there. Very good play from Phil.
Yeah, great laydown from Phil. And this is heads up here. We've got a set for Alan Cunningham and a straight for Howard Lederer. Pot is 25,000. The Queen of Spades changes nothing.
He looks the part though.
Someone just pulled a moneymaker.
Howard to act. He has the stone cold nuts right now.
Moneymaker did that the year he won, like earlier. He was just sitting there for a while.
That's not my first time.
I guess it's the mark of a champion.
Obviously, a couple of hands out there that Alan Cunningham cannot beat. He can't beat a set of sixes, and he can't beat the 3-5.
Maybe it's when Howard's at
Everything else, he's got. Can't imagine Howard Lederer has queens here. Not the way the hand played out pre-flop.
there.
Pot is 25,400.
Drive fear into their opponents. Other people drive sleep into them.
And the professor trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, hypnotize them and forget that they even have cards.
Phil Ivey, obviously a curious observer. He threw away his eights.
Alan watching.
Check.
As Howard plays with his chips. But he's checked Howard. Looks
Howard
like
might have
he's
checked. Yeah, he's going to set the trap here.
It's not a bad play. If he gives Alan a set.
He did an awful lot of acting there. And then, of course, the check. And Alan Cunningham thinking, what do I do here? I'll tell you, if Alan Cunningham takes the card here, I won't believe that he can't see through the cards. And look at that, he checks. It's like he has a seventh sense.
Wow.
And look at that, and the river pairs the board. It's a deuce on the river. That's going to kill Lederer. Cunningham has the full house here now. Fours full of deuces, and Lederer's hand is complete rubbish.
Check.
Unbelievable. Oh, wow. Lederer is trying to get tricky on the turn, and he burns himself.
10.
10,000's the bet.
It's a small bet. 10,000 into a $25,000 pot. I don't see how Lederer folds this.
I think he's going to call, but I don't think he likes it. The only hand he can really give Alan on here is a set at the end of the day. It was 6-handed to the flop. Alan's been pretty tight all day, but he feels like he has to make the call. He does. Well, this could have been a very big pot. They both played it very cagey.
And look at that, Alan Cunningham with 2 red aces.
Yeah, Alan Cunningham with his reputation, it's going to be hard for him to get on. He's going to have to hope that one of the people in the blind's got some sort of a hand to give him some play with his hand. It's not going to be Phil Ivey. That just leaves Patrick Antonius, who's notorious for defending his big blind. And consistent to form, Patrick Antonius decides to play. So Alan has a customer for his aces.
And here's the flop.
10-9-8.
Oh, this could be a dangerous flop. 10-9-8. It's a scary flop for aces. It really is.
It certainly is.
Patrick Antonius here, a top pair and a gut shot. Alan Cunningham obviously with the aces.
4,000.
And Antonius is not going to mess around. He is going to bet right into Cunningham. And Cunningham is as good as anybody in reading opponents. See how he plays this. Very dangerous, dangerous hand.
I'd expect him to call. Take a card off, see what happens next.
That's exactly what he does. Pot is now 13,500 to the turn. Turn is the 5 of hearts, and wow, that gives Patrick Antonius more outs. He can now catch a heart, a jack, a queen, or a 10. And you can see he's only about a 2-to-1 dog with 1 card to come. Very, very scary spot here for Cunningham. And Patrick Antonius is going to bet
10,500.
10,500. Pot is now $24,000. 10,500 to call. And Antonius could have anything here. He could have 2 pair. He could have straight, a set. Alan Cunningham puts the test here. And he is going to call.
10,500 called.
And he's got a lot of cards to dodge. Any heart, 10, jack, or queen.
Last card.
And here's the river.
Deuce.
It's a deuce of diamonds. What a beautiful, beautiful card for Alan Cunningham.
Yeah, it's not that beautiful for Patrick Antonius. In the first season of this program, we saw Alan Cunningham lay down aces to Phil Ivey.
22,000.
And he makes a $22,000 bet into a $34,000 pot.
Alan's going to go into the tank, try and work out whether it's worth justifying this call. He's bet every single street, Patrick Antonius.
Alan Cunningham really thinking this through.
This one I'm actually thinking of folding.
Pot is $56,000, $22,000 to call. That river bet by Antonius, that is not a value bet.
No, he's got to think he's behind. The only hand he can beat here is maybe an ace-jack. And what's the point of betting if you're up against an ace-jack?
Exactly. And look
22?
at that, what a call from Alan Cunningham.
All right, what do you got?
I swear, this man has a sixth sense. It's unbelievable. What instincts. He shows the aces, and he is going to take down nearly an $80,000 pot.
To bet.
Chris racing it up with the queen-jack.
Queen-jack suited. It's such a pretty hand.
And it's pretty good against that hand as well. That's Phil Ivey's 10-9, but Phil's got position.
14.
We've seen this before. Chris Ferguson raising, Phil Ivey calling.
Here comes our dealer Hugo, giving us a flop.
Ace, queen,
And it's a
3.
queen for Chris Ferguson. That's as good as an ace right now.
It's up to you.
And when the flop fell
Okay.
down there, it was almost as Ivey just looked away, as if he was just disinterested right away.
Well, Chris has checked.
4,000.
Of course, Phil Ivey going to put that bet in there, try to take advantage of his position.
This has happened a good few times before. These two clashing in a very similar manner.
Ferguson's going to call this one.
Check.
Oh, there's 2 pair.
That's going to make Chris feel a little bit happier about his hand. It's also going to give some outs for Phil.
Check.
Exactly. Ivy can now catch a king or an 8. Now, a king obviously won't get him too much action, but if an 8 falls on the river, that would be a lot of action.
10,000.
And he is going to bet $10,000. That one chip, that is a $25,000 chip.
Going to be curious to find out whether Chris just flat calls this one, or if he puts the pressure back on Phil.
Chris Ferguson really has not had a misstep all day long. Doesn't look like he's going to fold this, that's for sure. And he's going to call it. Pot is now 33,700.
15 change.
And let's see the
Last
river.
round.
Ivy needs a king or an 8 to win this.
7.
7 of spades is not going to do it. And let's see if Phil Ivy shuts down.
Checked.
Does Phil Ivy fire a 3rd bullet?
I think he's going to have to try.
Oh, and he's got the bullets out there. He's got the guns. $35,000 into a $33,000 pot. And we remember the pocket 9s. Look at this. Obviously no value to raising here. But it looks like he's going to call, and he does call. Great call by Chris Ferguson. Phil Ivy with 10 high.
Queen Jack, 2 pair.
Chris Ferguson with 2 pair, and he is going to take over a $100,000 pot.
Right. And now it's like even if he was good, he's so fragile.
Emotional.
He gets,
Call for 6, call for 6.
yeah.
And Brian Townsend with Queen Jack,
3,300.
He's going to buy
pushing it
himself.
up.
Pass.
Yeah, he's going to buy himself the button with that raise and take control of his pot.
3,003.
He's also got rid of Phil Ivy. Just leaves Patrick Antonius. Is he going to call to try and catch a set? There's your answer.
It's one of the worst games I've ever seen.
Now, of course, the problem with calling a raise against an aggressive player like this, even if you hit your 6, you might not win a big pot.
No, it's just possible.
Exactly.
Because Brian Townsend doesn't necessarily have to have a big hand. And here's an example.
Queen.
And this is actually a monster. Brian Townsend has top pair. Patrick Antonius has a set.
This other group of girls that looks like
How much money is Brian Townsend really going to lose with just Queen Jack here? And you can look at the percentages. 98% for Patrick Antonius.
8,000.
$8,000 bet for Brian Townsend. We've already seen that Brian Townsend will bet his marginal hands.
But what they allow on TV
But can he get away from his marginal
general
hands?
TV is a lot more liberal in
It's going to be
Europe.
unusual.
than it is in
Interesting
the
to see
United
how
States.
Patrick decides to play this. Does he just call the 8?
naked fat girl on my TV.
Or does he go for the throat and raise it up?
TV show.
Yeah, it can be difficult sometimes when you're out of position.
F word nonstop. I don't know what the
Well,
show
here
is.
you can't say bloody, but
This guy was
F word's
F
fine.
this, F that,
7-2.
F that.
Called.
And it looks like he calls this.
I mean, and in Europe, it's
Pot is about $23,000 to the turn.
Wait till you
King.
go to Germany.
King of
you see what they
hearts.
have after like 5.
Doesn't really change anything.
Really?
Brian Townsend can't beat King Queen, but he couldn't beat King Queen before the King came.
Checked.
Patrick Antonius is really using Brian Townsend's aggressive nature against him. He's checked it,
no, but the
and he's going to let Townsend bet again.
made soccer. It's a World Cup against Brazil, England. Bad game
20.
that was.
The bet's $20,000.
Remember that game?
Yeah, 2-1.
Pot is now $43,000.
2002, right?
20,000 to Patrick. Patrick, the Iceman.
Yeah, but you were down 1-0, and then they ejected a Brazilian player.
No, we were ahead 1-0.
You were ahead 1-0, and they ejected a
Phil
Brazilian
Ivy?
Sent
and
off,
then
yeah.
they just squashed you from there.
An interested onlooker.
Really, really sad.
I think it was 1-1 when the guy got sent off, but it could have been 1-0.
Yeah, the fellow who scored the goal got sent off.
Yeah, it was already.
Is he going to check raise here? Is this the time to check raise right now?
Well, if he does check raise, I think that king could have killed his action.
Yeah, but
It's going to be very easy for Brian to give him kings and queens.
20,000's gold.
He just calls. I think that's probably his best chance of getting on in this pot once that king's come down.
5.
And how do you play the river, though?
Last out.
Out of position. Almost hoping for a queen or a jack to come. Well, that's not it. That's a 4 diamonds. One more hand that Patrick could have there. Brian Townsend could put him on 7-8.
this English football.
Pot is $63,000. Patrick Antonius trying to decide how to play this. He's going to check it. And Brian Townsend does like to value bet his marginal holdings.
It's going to be interesting to see whether he can sniff out his behind hit. Looks like he's still reaching for the black chips.
And Brian Townsend, I really haven't seen more than one speed. I've seen one speed and one speed only. And he looks like he has a lot of money there. Looks like he has 2 black chips, I want to say. And those black chips are $25,000. If you want to be a successful poker player, you have to have more than one speed. Let's see how he does this.
Looks like only one black chip.
You're right. It's one black chip, but a lot of red chips. And it's a
40,000.
$40,000 bet. $40,000 bet into a $63,000 pot. The pot's $103,000. And at this point, if you're Patrick Antonius, do you raise? Or do you put maybe, are you scared of queens or kings? $103,000 pot. $40,000 to Antonius.
There's really only one hand he can get a call from here that he's in front, and that'd be Queen King. I can't imagine him re-raising this one.
Brian Townsend was the pre-flop raiser. He could have pocket queens, he could have pocket kings. And you're probably right. Nothing else would call a raise.
Phil Ivey watching on intently. For once, he's not the one getting beaten up in the pot. It's his fellow big loser, Brian Townsend.
And at this point, does Brian Townsend even want to call? You can feel the tension.
Let's see, do I have cards from
Patrick Antonius is not going to fold here. I'm pretty sure of that. Just deciding whether he should raise, whether there's any value to the raise.
Yeah. I'll bring up 6.
Looks like he's counting out a number of black chips in this pot. That looks like a raise.
Yeah, it's a big raise.
150,000.
He makes it $150,000.
I think Brian Townsend's just realised his hand's no good.
I was wondering if Brian Townsend actually wanted a call. He certainly didn't want that. And the
Where is it exactly?
And the pot is
$150,000
$250,000, $110,000 to call.
10 more.
Brian definitely not happy to see the raise there on the river.
He's reaching for his chips.
Wow, is he really going to call this? What hand can he beat? What hand would Antonius call the flop with, the turn with, and then raise the river with that he can beat?
What has he convinced himself that his opponent's got?
You wonder, he can't beat 7-8. And look at that, he
As
calls.
I said,
And there it is. Phil Ivey in the cutoff seat with the hooks.
2,000.
Oh yeah.
Wow. And there's a couple of hands behind him.
Cool.
Raise to 2, call of 2. And here comes Brian. Looks like a deep reach. And then a change of plan. He calls with the 8.
No?
Gives me that tingly feeling inside when these three players play a pot.
Well, would have got her more stuck.
Well, man, he's gonna wait for her to use the bathroom and sneak the money under the table.
What a flop.
Oh, wow, this is it. What a flop here. We've got ace, ace, jack board here. Ivy has flopped, bottoms full, and Patrick Antonius has flopped trip aces. And both these players are very deep. Each player has over $400,000.
16 back then. When I moved to Vegas in '93, the big game was.
The
like
pot is only $12,000.
I'm willing to bet it's going to go up at some point in this hand.
That was the biggest game.
Probably a good assumption.
Chip came down for that game. And then it was a big deal when we kind of kicked it up to 8 and 16, and that was kind of the regular game.
15.
Patrick Antonius re-raises, puts it to 15,000.
That were bigger games, weren't there? I mean,
Well, they're
You know, obviously, Patrick Antonius cannot beat ace king, ace queen, or ace jack.
we're like the pros and the
Little does he know that Ivy's got
together on a regular
pocket
basis.
jacks.
Always gonna be, you know,
And the pot is $27,000. And Ivy's, his eyes are just lighting up here. Just trying to figure out, how do I maneuver this pot to make as much as I possibly can?
But I mean, you know, they used to play.
50 total.
They were playing like 1-200.
And he is going to re-raise right away. He makes it 50 total.
He was just trying to launder money. Chipping away.
Phil Ivey not going to wait
I heard he
to build this pot up.
yeah, I read that in paper.
Patrick Antonius does have some outs here. He can catch an ace or a 10. And he is going to call this. And look at this. This
I
pot
heard conflicting Antonio and then the,
is already $107,000.
you don't know.
The turn is the 5 of diamonds.
That's a great card for Phil. He can be pretty certain that Patrick's not re-raising him with ace 5.
Although, if you remember correctly, Antonius did win a huge pot with ace 4 against Phil Ivey earlier.
$100,000.
And this is a huge bet here. Phil Ivey is making a $100,000 bet. Those are $25,000 chips. The pot is $207,000, $100,000 to Antonius, and this is the exact reason Ivy rebought.
Well, that $100,000 bet is really going to confuse Patrick. He doesn't know whether he's up against an ace-king, an ace-queen. He tried to find out with the 15,000 bet.
Cool.
And look at this, Patrick Antonius is going to call.
A 5 wouldn't get him any action, but would put him in front. A 10 would be a huge river. It's a queen.
It's a queen. It changes nothing, and for once, Ivy has not gotten unlucky.
Might scare him a little, though, that queen.
Of course. Remember, right now,
They're all talking at the start of this hand. Now everyone's watching. This pot is 307,000, and it could be getting bigger.
Phil Ivey trying to think, how much can I bet here? This is an enormous pot. Phil Ivey, the master, trying to figure out exactly how to get the big call.
A decent sized bet from Ivy, and Patrick should be able to get away from the hand. There isn't really much he can beat here.
No, you're correct there. But the pot is $300,000. What about the human side of it? Can you really let $300,000 go?
He's got to decide what he wants to bet, and is he going to pass if he gets re-raised and puts 150,000 in there?
I think he's probably going to bet about 200,000 here, maybe even more. The pot is $300,000. Phil Ivey, an absolute master.
He might even just declare all in. He's sitting with about the pot size in front of him, around the 300,000 mark.
And could Phil Ivey get even in just one hand? Absolutely phenomenal poker. And what is Patrick Antonius thinking right now, Gary? As he waits for Phil Ivey to make a bet.
He's probably trying to decide, what do I do if he bets? What do I do if he checks?
Phil Ivey, obviously really thinking this through. The wheels are turning.
He's gone back for the blacks.
Those are $25,000 each. This could really sort him out. And look at this. This is the bet. It's $225,000. Phil Ivey has just bet $225,000. This pot is over $500,000. It is actually $250,000. It's 12 black chips. The pot is $557,000. What do you do if you're Patrick Antonius?
$557,000. The only thing he can really beat now is a bluff. He knows if Phil Ivey is re-raising him on the flop, a third bet, he should have ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack, jacks full. But it's also got to be going through his mind that Phil Ivey is stuck, and he is stuck big. This could be his one chance to get out of it, to steal this pot. Is Patrick Antonius going to make the call?
Phil Ivey like a stone here. Patrick Antonius trying to figure it out. The superstar from Finland really put to the test here. $250,000 bet. If he calls this bet, Ivey will actually be ahead.
That's all it's going to cost. Just 10 black chips.
Exactly, 10.
Doesn't sound a lot. Just a little bit of plastic. But that is $250,000.
This pot is over $500,000.
Come back to play with the chips.
Not much Antonius can beat here. But can he say goodbye to that big a pot? You can just feel the tension in the room.
I call.
Cool.
He says call! This is a monster, and it is the hand that Phil Ivey has been waiting for. $807,000 pot. Incredible.
Absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Patrick Antonius calls that. It's over an $800,000 pot. This very well might be the biggest pot in televised history. Over $800,000, and in just one hand, Phil Ivey has turned it all around.
On to the next hand. Button in front of Phil Ivey. Howard Lederer actually finding something he can play here.
He said he averaged like 50.
I have to be honest, I actually forgot Howard Lederer was even at the table.
It was a service, it wasn't even a bet.
Well, he has been talking an awful lot. You could have heard him. You might not have seen him moving too many chips. Tony G looks like he's reaching. He's raising it up to 3,500 with his ace-jack.
Cold.
Call from Phil Ivey on the button. That's probably the excuse that Howard Lederer needs to call this bet. He doesn't have an awful lot of money in front of him.
Now Phil Ivey and Tony G combined have over $1.2 million. This could be a big pot.
3 players.
It certainly could.
No, I need a phone. Did my phone get in? Did you get given it? Good work. Yeah,
Ace,
that's
8,
It's a new thing.
Well,
Checked.
it's a nice flop for Tony G. Not much there for anybody else.
Checked.
I can't imagine us having an $800,000 pot on this board. Well, there's a
Check.
10. That livens it up slightly. Means there's a jack possibility and a flush draw now
7,000.
for Howard Lederer. But I can't imagine either player actually getting there. This pot's going to be over.
7,000 called.
Wow. Phil's calling
2 players.
with position. And not much of a hand.
Oh,
wow, what a river.
Unbelievable. The river, that's the gin card. Tony G's got
25.
top 2 pair here. And Ivey has made Broadway. He's got the straight.
And a bet of 25,000.
And Ivey
Tony
couldn't
G.
buy a pot before, and he's just going to call this, and he's going to win it.
Ace jack.
Tony G is going to be sick when Phil turns over this hand.
King queen straight.
Yeah. How'd you open? I got.
How can he not say something to Phil Ivey? A middle pin is what he's caught. 1 jack. That's all he could win that pot with. And Tony G had one in his hand. Tell you what, that's the best piece of self-control I've seen any poker player make. He's absolutely desperate to say something.
Big blind, please.